Liam, just before we talk about football, the wider world is tightening up with COVID, and obviously we've heard about some of the issues in the Premier League, Tottenham's squad, and COVID's come to the fore again. Just talk us through, how this affects you as a club, and will the protocols stay the same from your perspective, and is it something you're very conscious of at the moment?
Yeah, I think I had the question I think the other night after the game around it, and I think myself and the club and the people here, our stance is always to prioritise people. I think the people's health, well-being is always priority, and it should always be that way. Um, I think to be fair, from when I arrived, day one, we've followed protocols where we've used split changing rooms, masks in meetings, social distancing, small numbers, etc., etc. So I don't things won't change massively for us. We've been quite tight in terms of following protocols. So yeah, it's one of those. We have to keep an eye on it. We have to make sure. It's always quite dangerous sometimes. When you become things can slip. But I think I have to give credit to especially the medical staff here. They've been on the front foot. The guys do their daily questionnaires, etc. So I think we're quite on the front foot. I think it is important that we do that in order one look after people, and then secondly, obviously, to be able to fulfil games. What we don't want to do is lose huge numbers of players. So the protocols hopefully help us do that.
Nobody wants to go back to where we were before losing football. Nobody wants to lose football, because I think it was only when we did, not just in this country but around the world, we lost football. People lost, the ability to mix with friends, their entertainment. There was so much actually that we took for granted as people involved with the sport.
Yeah, definitely. I think like you say, from a well-being perspective as well. The mental health side of it, the socialising, people. A lot of people, it's the big thing for them in their week, getting out and going to the game, which is huge. So, and then also you then bigger picture, the economy as well, the impact that the game has on the economy in this country especially. So, I think yeah, none of us want the game to stop, but at the same point, we have to make sure in order for us to keep the games going, we have to follow the protocols and make sure that we're quite stringent with it.
Usually, I ask a question about the game midweek, but actually I think there's so much to focus on with this upcoming game, and there's so much to talk about. I mean, you can barely separate the two sides. So close in I think the Dons have scored more goals, and Oxford have conceded less. So there's so many similarities between the two clubs. It's a cracking game to look forward to, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, really exciting. Again, I think it's following up from the midweek game. I think it's a great opportunity for us to go again and show what we're about, and show a level of toughness. I think that's the bit I'm excited about. Showing how we respond to a really difficult game. Wednesday night to going again against another extremely difficult team at the weekend. So that's the bit that excites me. How do we respond? How do we step up to another really good challenge that we're going to face tomorrow?
The inevitable question about the manager of the opposition. It's got to happen, because Carl Robinson has been such a big part of a club with a short history. Carl Robinson's most successful manager, took them to the championship, and I still think he has quite a lot of love for the football club, to be honest with you. So, have you crossed paths with Carl at all?
Yeah, I think first and foremost for me, obviously, I have a huge amount of respect for what he did here. The longevity, the success he had here. He did a terrific job. So I have a huge amount of respect and admiration for for what he achieved here. And coming here, you can't not be aware of what he did. So again, like I reiterate the respect I have for him. And I've actually bumped into him a few times. We met at Willen Lake and had a brief chat for sort of 20 minutes, which was good. And then randomly, I was actually at a concert in London. And he was actually literally right next to me. So again, we had another 15, 20 minutes there. So I have to say, the few times I met him, really helpful, really open, which was, I think, speaks volumes about him as a person. He was really forthcoming in terms of, providing support and, being able to pick his brains if I wished, etc. So yeah, it'd be good to see him tomorrow.
Well, he wasn't lurking like in a bush, jumped out at you, Willen Lake, did he?
Not quite, no. Not quite, no. But he's obviously still local, isn't he? So yeah, bumped into him a few times. But yeah, it's been good. The few times I've met him, it's been good to talk to him.
As far as his football team, it's interesting, because when Carl was manager of MK Dons, the style of football, I think he first manager that made the style of football an important thing. And lots of people have said your style is getting back to the way that Carl Robinson wanted to play football, free-flowing football. There's a lot more possession, I think, involved with the way that you play football. So there are definitely differences. But it's funny how things come full circle. Are you expecting similarities in the two sides?
Yeah, I think so. Obviously, we do our work obviously on every single game, and we watch the opposition, and try and pick out trends of what they try and do. And again, credit to Carl and the guys at Oxford when you see them play. I think they have real variation, and that's what I quite like in terms of when you watch a game. They can build, they can play out from the back, they can go through you, they'll go round you, they'll go over you. They'll attack in a variety of ways. I think they have good energy and intensity in terms of what they like out of possession, and again, I think that makes teams enjoyable and interesting to watch. And again, I have to say, the work we've done watching them, I've actually quite enjoyed watching Oxford play. So I think when you look at matchups, a little bit like the other night, I think when you get certain styles play against each other, I think you sometimes predict a good game, and I think we'll get that tomorrow.
And what about injuries? I don't know, this is a weekly Max Waters question. How's Max?
Yeah, still, he's heading in the right direction. Not quite where we want him to be, but he's getting better. Again, I think the injury he had is quite a unique one, to be fair. On the sole of his foot, and I think the thing that them ones as well. If you rush it, it's not something you can really play through or with. So again, I think you have to get it right. Otherwise, it is something that's just going to constantly irritate and be there, for a long time. So I think we're working on him. He's getting better, but ideally it would be quicker than what it is.
You're not just keeping him in storage until the end of the transfer window, so he's not recalled.
I like your thinking.
What about Harry Darling, who went off in the Plymouth game? How's he? It kind of looked like a hamstring, but I don't know. What was the situation with Harry?
Yeah, he picked up a slight hamstring strain, so he's one that again we're still assessing now. We're still trying to get to the bottom of the severity of it. So we took him off. He actually wanted to continue on Wednesday, but when it's something like that, for me, what you can't do is it's slightly different if you got a dead leg or a knock. But when it's something muscular, I think we have to be slightly cautious that if he then does go and do it fully, then it's a much longer term injury than by actually taking him off at half time. So the guys are still working on him. We're still seeing how he is at the moment.
And David Kasumi?
Same. David was actually off for a couple of days ill at the start of the week, which is probably a good thing. It gave him a little bit of extra time to heal. And he's now actually on his sort of return to play program. So again, he's getting closer to returning as well.
Just a quick word about Troy Parrott, because we've seen in Troy, certainly at the start of the season, a player with undoubted ability. Is it fair for me to say that he doesn't appear to be living up to his full potential?
No, I wouldn't say that's fair, to be totally honest. I think what you have to take into account is where Troy's at in his journey so far. I think if you look at it, he's 19, which again, I don't want to use age as a reason for what how his season's gone so far. He's had a really really good spell early on. He's obviously had a slight dip, but for different reasons. Like the international, where the guys are getting a rest or carrying on with international. He's obviously been away, which is I said before, he should be proud and he should go away with his country. But that then obviously COVID, then a couple of other bits and pieces is just sort of just little setbacks, little challenges. And I think that when you are 19, I think it's different if you're 28 and you're used to it. Do you know what I mean? I think now it's probably his first breakthrough season where he's actually strung together a decent number of games at the start of the season. So again, I have no doubts, and I'm sure that Troy will get back to the level he was at earlier in the year. I'm sure of that. I thought he showed really good glimpses again the other night when he came on, as to what we'd seen earlier in the season. So, and I've seen it in training the last week as well. So, like I said to Troy himself, that the challenge is to now maintain it. It's around flipping that potential into performance, and consistently day in day out, hitting a level that is the level you're capable of, and that there's no secret to it. It comes down to hard work, comes down to a level of resilience, comes down to being able to focus and train with discipline, play with discipline every day, and he's really shown that in the last week. So there's no coincidence he comes on and he does what he did the other night.
And just one more from me. During commentary on Wednesday night, I had ex-MK Dons midfielder Stephen Gleeson with me doing the co-commentary, and it was really interesting to to have somebody, an ex-pro, watch the game, and he actually picks up on Ethan Robson and all the work that he does on and off the ball, and paid tribute to what he was doing. And not that I hadn't noticed it. Clearly, I'm noticing the whole team. But is he the kind of player that sometimes does go unnoticed for the work that he does?
Yeah, definitely. I think when you look at it, I think sometimes especially the other night, I watched the game back literally straight after when I got home in the evening. And you watch it back, and I think sometimes when you're on the sideline, or when you're in the game, or you're emotionally attached to the game, the perspective you have can sometimes change when you watch it back. And although I thought Plymouth had a lot of possession at times first half, I have to say I thought how we defended in terms of the shape we held, the spaces that we filled, where we conceded space, I thought was really good. And sometimes like that, I think the job that Ethan and even Josh as well did first half in terms of denying balls to be played through us and blocking spaces, working really hard to get across the pitch. That work does go unnoticed, I think, by a lot of people. Obviously, we watch all the games back. We assess and analyse everything, so the guys get the positive feedback from us, as well as the bits that we need to do better. But I was pleased with Heath the other night. He did well, and it's good to have him back, and hopefully he can string a run of games together.
I'm just a journalist. What do I know?
Quite a lot, Luke. I'll give you credit for that.
Cheers, Luke.
No worries.
From one journalist who doesn't know anything about what we're talking about to another. Aidan Baldwin stepped in again to fill in the breach for Harry Darling's injury. Not seen an awful lot of him, to be honest, and I think that's probably the story of his career with the injuries that he's had down the years. But what have you made of him so far since taking over, and what potential do you think he has?
I have to say, it's been, especially early on, obviously, because of the run we went on early, having first come in, there was a lot of guys that had to be really patient and wait for their opportunity. And I think, Aidan was one of those that did have to be patient, and I have to give him a huge amount of credit. And he's been really important for the culture in that training, head down, work, does things properly, and he did that for a long stretch of not being in the team. He obviously, then played in some of the Papa John's games, and then obviously had a couple where obviously Cambridge Burton where he played a few as well. And I think what he's done is that he's shown that he can step in and perform when required. So the games he's played, I've been pleased with Aidan. And like you say, I think I get to see him every day in training, so I know what he's capable of. Now it's the opportunity for him to step in and grab the shirt and perform to a level that we know he's capable of. So. But first and foremost, I have to give him huge credit for his attitude and his character, for head down work, and people like that. I think are really important, for myself, but also for the culture to have people that in the team, not in the team, are willing to work and play their role. And I think he's done a terrific job of that. So I genuinely hope he does really well tomorrow.
And to a player who has certainly been a regular in your team, Scott Twine, obviously named Player of the Month. He said he was a little bit surprised by the nomination. Were you surprised by it as well, or when you're looking on and thinking, he's got 3 goals and 4 assists across a month? That's almost a guarantee to win it, isn't it?
I have to be totally honest. When I was told he's been nominated, I'd forgot the awards even happened. To be totally honest, you get so involved in the day to day and the game to game that obviously when Ant told me, it was it makes sense. To be fair, it doesn't surprise me. I think what he's done in the last month, and again, I think credit to him to show that I think I said it before, that not bounce back because he wasn't poor, but he had such a hot streak and did so well that to sustain that level is always going to be a challenge. And he had a couple of quieter games for a period, and then what he's shown is that he's tough, he's resilient, and he's got quality, and he obviously bounced back and had a really solid month last month. The challenge that I'm constantly pushing him with, and the rest of the guys, is to go again and again.
Of course, we sort of make a joke about it, don't we, about the curse of the Manager of the Month award. You obviously don't want him to have the curse of the Player of the Month award, and like you say, you're just going to be urging him to do bigger and better things this month.
Yeah, again, I think that the awards are great, and definitely for Twiney, rightly so, he should be recognised for what he's produced in the last month. But I think we have to spin it as a positive in terms of once you've had a taste for it, or he's had a taste for something like that you want more of it. And I think that it's then recognising how you get it, and that's literally down to hard work and delivering on a match day, and that's what he's been so consistent at over the course of this season, definitely.